Have you ever felt overwhelmed by everything happening around you? Like, no matter how hard you try, life just keeps pulling you in too many directions. What if I told you there's a way to find calm and control that doesn't come from pushing harder or doing more? It starts with something simple: learning to be silent in life. This isn't about being quiet just for the sake of it. It's about discovering how slowing down your thoughts, listening deeply, and acting with intention can help you create a life that flows more smoothly. When you learn to respond calmly, observe carefully, and choose your actions wisely, you stop fighting against life and begin moving with it. You start attracting peace and success without exhausting yourself. In this video, I'm going to share practical steps that anyone can use to build inner strength, protect their energy, and live each day with clear purpose. These are real tools, easy to understand and simple to practice, that will help you grow personally and reach your goals over time. No complicated theories, just straightforward advice you can put to work right away. Stick with me, and you'll discover how silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the foundation for true clarity, calm, and confidence. You'll learn how slowing down your mind can actually speed up your progress, and how small changes in your daily habits can lead to lasting peace. If you're ready to stop feeling scattered and start living with real focus and calm, this video is for you. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Embrace silence daily and watch your mind clear. Every day your mind is absorbing more than it was ever designed to handle. Notifications, headlines, conversations, responsibilities, they all pile up, one after another. Without noticing, you begin to carry the weight of noise. Not just the kind you hear, but the kind that invades your thinking. It keeps you restless. It fogs your decisions. It clouds your judgment. That noise becomes your default environment. You wake up in it. You move through your day in it. And eventually, you lose touch with the one thing that could bring everything back into focus: silence. Silence is not about the absence of sound. It is about presence. It's about the deliberate decision to quiet everything around you so that you can finally hear what's going on inside. You do not need more information. You need less distraction. You do not need more advice. You need more clarity. And clarity only comes when you learn how to be quiet, intentionally, consistently, and without fear. In silence, your mind has the space to breathe. It's like walking into a room that was once filled with clutter and finally finding it clean and empty. You can think, you can feel, you can see what truly matters. That space is where your next breakthrough begins. That's where understanding grows. That's where you begin to notice your habits, your thoughts, and your automatic reactions. You start to realize how much of your life is lived on autopilot, simply because you've been too busy to notice it. You are not supposed to be constantly stimulated. That is not how your brain is designed. You need space between one thought and the next. You need silence between decisions. You need pauses between responsibilities. Otherwise, you'll move faster and faster, but understand yourself less and less. Life will feel heavy, not because it is, but because you've never given yourself the chance to set it down and breathe. Silence is how you set it down. This is not about escaping the world. This is about facing it with more strength. When you start practicing silence, even for 5 minutes a day, you begin to rewire the way your mind works. You teach yourself that it's okay to be still. You stop reacting to everything. You stop feeling the need to fill every moment with something. You start paying attention to how you feel, where you are, and what you need. That awareness gives you power, not loud power, the kind that needs recognition or praise, but quiet power, the kind that gives you peace. Silence is the most underrated form of discipline. It takes effort to pause. It takes courage to not always respond. It takes strength to sit with your emotions rather than drowning them in noise. But once you do, you start to notice something beautiful. Your mind begins to clear. All those swirling thoughts, all that anxiety, all those looping worries, they begin to lose their grip, because now you've created a space where they no longer dominate. You've given yourself a place to return to whenever the world becomes too much. If your mind feels crowded, silence is your way forward. Begin with something small. In the morning, before checking your phone or speaking to anyone, sit in silence. No music, no distractions, just sit and breathe. Notice the thoughts that come up. Don't judge them, don't try to push them away. Just observe them, and then let them pass. You're not trying to fix anything. You're learning how to be present. That's where your real strength begins. You do not have to be perfect at this. You only have to be consistent. The same way your muscles grow when you work out a little each day, your mind grows stronger when you practice silence a little each day. The more you make space for silence, the more it will give back to you. You'll find that solutions come easier, decisions feel clearer, relationships improve. You'll feel less rushed and more rooted. That is what happens when you give your mind space to process instead of pushing it to perform non-stop. People often believe that to improve their life, they need to do more. But sometimes the best improvement is found in doing less, in being still, in stepping away from the chaos and stepping into yourself. Silence is not inactivity. It is deep activity. It is the process of sorting through your thoughts, questioning your beliefs, and letting go of the unnecessary. And the truth is, most of what weighs you down is not your reality. It's your reaction. It's your inability to pause long enough to see clearly. As you embrace silence daily, you'll notice how your conversations change. You'll begin to speak more intentionally. You'll stop talking just to fill space. You'll listen more. You'll pick up on details you used to miss. You'll hear what people mean, not just what they say. You'll be able to read situations with greater accuracy, because now your mind isn't clouded by noise. You've trained yourself to pay attention, and that skill will serve you in every part of life. You'll also begin to notice how much of your anxiety is driven by anticipation. Most of what you worry about hasn't happened yet. And when you constantly feed your mind with stimulation, it never has time to settle those worries. Silence is how you settle them. It's how you tell your nervous system, your thoughts, and your emotions that they're safe, that you're not running, that you're staying, that you're strong enough to sit with whatever comes up. This strength does not come all at once. It comes in the quiet moments you choose to honor. When you pause before reacting, when you wait before responding, when you take time to think instead of rushing into the next thing. These are not wasted moments. They are the foundation of peace. And peace is what makes everything flow to you with less resistance. In a world that rewards speed, you need to value stillness. Not because the world is wrong, but because it is loud. And if you don't create silence intentionally, you will never have it. It will always be out of reach. You'll always be reacting, always chasing, always tired. Silence breaks that cycle. It is your reminder that you are not a machine. You are a human being with thoughts, emotions, and energy that need care, not pressure. There is nothing soft about silence. It takes grit to sit quietly while your mind wants to run. It takes inner strength to stop explaining yourself when someone doesn't understand you. It takes self-respect to say nothing when provoked. That is where silence becomes your superpower, not because it hides your truth, but because it protects it. You're no longer giving your energy to everything. You're no longer explaining yourself to people who don't care. You're conserving your strength. You're building focus. You're creating a life that flows. To live this way, start by identifying where the noise is coming from. Is it your phone? Is it people around you? Is it the content you consume every day? Is it your own mind repeating the same thoughts over and over? Once you know where the noise is, you can start creating boundaries. You can begin with 5-minute breaks from your phone, 10 minutes in the morning with no input, 1 hour a day without talking. Slowly, these moments add up. They teach your brain a new rhythm, one that isn't driven by fear or pressure, but by presence. You will start to feel more grounded, more clear-headed. You'll begin to hear your inner voice again, the one that's always known what you truly want, the one that gets drowned out by the world's expectations. As that voice grows stronger, you'll make better choices. You'll stop second-guessing yourself. You'll start trusting your instincts, and life will feel more aligned, not because it became easier, but because you stopped fighting yourself. This practice also helps you deal with pain in a healthy way. Instead of escaping into noise or distractions, you learn how to sit with discomfort. You learn that not every feeling needs to be avoided. Some just need to be felt and understood. And in that silence, healing happens. Not because you forced it, but because you finally made space for it. When you embrace silence daily, it doesn't just clear your mind, it transforms it. It gives you access to the parts of yourself that you forgot were there. The wisdom, the calm, the creativity, the strength. All of that comes back. And when it does, life flows differently. You're not chasing things anymore, you're choosing them. You're not reacting to life, you're shaping it. You're not trying to control everything, you're aligning with what truly matters. If you want to live a life that flows, you must learn how to be silent. Not once in a while, not only when you're overwhelmed, but as a daily practice, as a commitment to your clarity, as a decision to stop filling space and start creating meaning. That is how everything begins to shift. That is how you take control back. You don't need more answers. You need more space for the answers to come. You don't need more noise. You need the strength to step away from it. And you already have that strength. It's just been buried under the constant demand to always be doing something. But now you know that doing less can mean gaining more. That pausing can mean growing. That silence can mean power. Every day, give yourself that gift. 5 minutes of silence, then 10, then longer. Let it become part of your rhythm. Let it anchor you. Let it remind you that peace is not found in what you achieve, but in how you live, in the quality of your thoughts, in the calmness of your actions, in the depth of your presence. When you commit to silence daily, you reclaim your mind. You clear the fog. You make better choices. You treat others with more patience. You see yourself with more honesty. You gain space from your problems. And most of all, you become the kind of person who doesn't need to force things to happen. Because now, things start flowing to you, naturally, effortlessly, and in alignment with who you truly are. Chapter 2. Detach from noise and reclaim your inner control. Every day your attention is pulled in countless directions. Messages demand replies. News flashes across your screen. Voices around you spill opinions, judgments, expectations. Without realizing it, you begin to absorb it all. You take on other people's moods. You carry their urgency, their fears, their restlessness. You begin reacting, not responding. And slowly, without consent, you hand over your sense of inner control. There is a point where this becomes normal. You stop questioning the noise. You accept it as part of life. You stay plugged in, constantly stimulated, always alert for the next thing. But in this state, your power begins to fade. Not all at once, but steadily. You can no longer hear yourself clearly. You struggle to know what you truly want because so many outside influences are shaping your thoughts. What used to be clarity turns into confusion. What used to be calm becomes constant agitation. And the worst part is, it becomes easy to believe this is just how life works. But it's not. You are not meant to be controlled by what happens around you. You are not supposed to be emotionally dependent on noise. You are not built to run on reactions. You are here to think clearly, to move with purpose, and to live by design. That doesn't happen by adding more to your life. It begins by removing what is not essential, especially the noise that keeps you from hearing your own truth. Noise takes many forms. It isn't just loud sounds or obvious distractions. It's also subtle. Anxiety from what you consume, irritation from constant interruptions, mental clutter from overexposure to opinions, expectations and demands. It's the constant comparing, the endless scrolling, the quick judgments, the feeling that you always need to be on. This is not how you reclaim control. This is how you lose it, bit by bit. To take it back, you must begin by noticing the noise. You don't need to fight it. You only need to detach from it. That means giving yourself permission to step back. You don't owe your attention to everything. Not every message requires a reply. Not every thought needs to be shared. Not every update is worth your energy. This isn't selfish, it's self-respect. When you detach from the noise, your nervous system resets. Your thinking becomes less reactive, more reflective. You stop rushing into opinions. You stop feeding habits that drain you. You create a buffer between what happens outside and what happens inside. That space is where you find power again. Not loud, impulsive power, but quiet, steady strength. The kind that allows you to think clearly and act from a grounded place. This is not about disconnecting from life. It's about filtering it, being selective with what you allow in. You can still live fully and be aware of the world, but now you're doing it on your terms. You decide when to engage, when to respond, and when to retreat. That's how you protect your inner environment. That's how you stop letting noise shape your identity. Reclaiming inner control requires boundaries, not just with people, but with your habits. Begin by setting time each day when you're unavailable to the world. No phone, no news, no obligations. Even 20 minutes is enough. During that time, breathe, reflect, do nothing, allow yourself to settle. Your mind may resist at first. It's used to being flooded. It will look for something to react to, but stay with it. What feels uncomfortable at first becomes a sanctuary over time. Detachment is also about emotional discipline. You don't need to attend every argument. You don't need to prove yourself in every conversation. When people are loud, you can remain calm. When others are impulsive, you can remain still. When the world is noisy, you can remain anchored. This is how you begin to master yourself, not by controlling what others do, but by deciding how you respond. That is where true power lives. Much of your stress comes not from events, but from your reaction to them. The noise stirs up emotions you don't process. It keeps you on edge. When you detach, you take away the fuel. You stop feeding the chaos. You break the loop, and what returns is clarity. You begin to see things as they are, not as your stress distorts them to be. You notice patterns. You understand your triggers. You regain the ability to pause before reacting. Your life changes when you no longer allow noise to control your narrative. You stop trying to keep up with people who are running in circles. You no longer waste time on distractions, disguised as obligations. You stop sacrificing your peace just to stay connected. You become centered, and from that center, you make better decisions. When your mind is no longer shaped by outside noise, you begin to hear your own priorities. You remember what matters to you. You feel your values, not just talk about them. You make space for real growth. Growth that doesn't come from pressure, but from clarity. You begin to lead yourself, and people will notice. They'll sense something different in you. A calm, a presence, a confidence that doesn't shout, but moves with quiet certainty. This way of living isn't found in doing more. It's found in doing what matters, quietly and consistently. That only happens when you remove what doesn't serve you. Every distraction, every unnecessary conversation, every mental loop you replay, those things steal your power. You don't need them. You need presence. You need intention. You need to feel your own life again. If you feel overwhelmed, it's not because you're weak. It's because you haven't had enough silence, enough space, enough control over what enters your mind. You've been reacting, not choosing, but that can change. Right now, with one decision, to step back, to pause, to observe instead of absorb. That's the moment you begin to reclaim your life. In that stillness, something shifts. You begin to see clearly. You realize how much peace you've sacrificed by chasing things that never mattered. You stop trying to fix everything. You stop trying to please everyone. You let go of the idea that more noise means more progress, and you return to what's real, to what lasts, to what actually builds you. Reclaiming control is not about tightening your grip. It's about letting go of what doesn't belong. When you do, you feel lighter. You feel stronger. You feel ready. Not rushed, not anxious, just ready. And from that place everything becomes possible. You no longer move out of fear. You move out of purpose. Detach from the noise, not to escape life, but to live it fully. To engage from a place of calm. To decide rather than be dragged. To lead rather than follow. This is how you rise, not through chaos, but through clarity. Not through reaction, but through intention. This is how you become unshakable, quietly, consistently, completely. Chapter 3. Observe everything deeply before choosing your next move. Most mistakes come from moving too quickly. When you rush, you rely on impulse. You lean on emotion instead of understanding. You speak too soon, act too fast, and often regret what follows. The habit of quick reactions may feel productive, but it rarely brings peace. A thoughtful life begins by slowing down your process, not your ambition or your drive, but the way you interpret what's happening around you. Before you take your next step, stop and observe. Step back from the pressure to act right away. Give yourself the gift of attention without judgment. Most people live on the surface. They see only what is obvious. They judge based on appearances, respond to headlines, and react to tone instead of intention. That's why they repeat the same patterns. They don't see the whole picture. They don't take the time to understand. When you observe deeply, you begin to notice more than what's visible. You hear the unspoken. You feel the energy beneath the words. You catch what others miss. Not to criticize, but to understand before you decide. You're not meant to follow every urge. You're meant to lead your life with intention. That requires awareness. It requires you to pause and examine the situation without attachment. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't rush into opinions. Wait until you can see clearly. Often the truth is not in the first glance. It's hidden beneath distractions, fear, habits and assumptions. Look past them. Observe from a calm, neutral place. It is in the silence between moments that insight rises. When you're still, your perception sharpens. You become more present. You notice the details. You understand the patterns. That is how you begin to make wiser decisions, not based on urgency or the influence of others, but from a deeper understanding of what's really going on. People who react without thinking live in a constant loop of damage control. They are always fixing what they've broken by moving too soon. They struggle to find direction because they never slow down long enough to study the map. Observation is your internal compass. It grounds your emotions. It protects you from impulsive moves. It allows you to evaluate reality instead of chasing illusions. When you build this habit, you stop fearing uncertainty. You begin to trust your ability to respond wisely in any situation. There is strength in waiting, not the kind of waiting that feels passive or powerless, but the kind that holds presence, the kind that gathers information before acting, the kind that listens before speaking, the kind that sees through noise and chooses only what is essential. When you master observation, you waste less time. You take fewer missteps. You do not get pulled into distractions. You remain focused on what actually matters. When something happens that demands your attention, pause first. Ask yourself what's really happening here, not just on the surface, but underneath. What emotions are involved? What expectations are at play? Who benefits from a quick reaction? What would change if you gave yourself time to reflect? You don't need to answer these questions out loud. You just need to create the space in your mind where understanding can form before action begins. Deep observation trains you to recognize your triggers. You start to notice when you're reacting from ego, fear, or old habits. That awareness is powerful. Once you see the source of your behavior, you have the freedom to choose differently. You're no longer a prisoner of automatic responses. You begin to shape your own outcomes. This kind of self-mastery doesn't come through effort alone. It comes through clarity. And clarity requires observation. It requires you to study your own thoughts, your patterns, your decisions, and the effects they create. Don't criticize yourself. Just watch. Be honest, be kind, but also be firm. Tell yourself the truth without exaggeration or denial. That's how growth begins. When you observe deeply, you start to understand people better too. You stop taking everything personally. You realize most people are acting from their own wounds, not trying to harm you. You begin to see beyond their words. You recognize their fears, their conditioning, their struggle to feel heard. And when you understand this, you stop trying to fight every battle. You learn where to place your energy and where to let go. Not every move requires your response. Not every situation needs your involvement. Wisdom is knowing the difference, and that wisdom is born through observation, through watching before acting, through listening without needing to interrupt, through holding space for what is, without needing to change it right away. This approach builds patience, and patience is not weakness. It's control. It means your emotions don't own you. It means the world doesn't dictate your behavior. It means you are living from the inside out, not the other way around. You decide what deserves your attention. You decide when to speak and when to remain silent. That is what it means to reclaim your life. Learning to observe deeply is not about being passive. It's about being precise. You don't act less, you act better. You use your time wisely. You conserve your energy. You stop creating problems you later have to fix. You move from a place of clarity and conviction. That kind of movement is powerful because it comes from understanding, not reaction. This way of thinking doesn't just change your decisions, it changes your life. You begin to notice opportunities that others miss. You recognize when to step back, when to hold steady, and when to move forward. You are no longer caught in the trap of urgency. You are no longer seduced by the rush of action for the sake of action. You have trained yourself to think before you speak, to see before you judge, and to wait before you act. This discipline will serve you in every area of life. In your work you will make smarter choices because you understand the full picture. In your relationships, you will create stronger bonds because you listen more and argue less. In your personal growth, you will evolve faster because you're not repeating the same mistakes out of blind habit. A thoughtful mind is a strong mind, and strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, still, and deeply observant. Sometimes it's in your ability to say nothing until you know the right thing to say. Sometimes it's in your ability to wait without anxiety, to hold your ground without explanation, to trust that clarity will come when you stop forcing it. When you build this skill, you no longer feel rushed by life. You create your own rhythm. You move when it's time, not when it's expected. You make decisions from a place of peace, not panic. And in doing so, you begin to flow with life, not chase it. You become rooted, focused, and unshakable. Choose to live this way. Choose to be the one who sees clearly, even when the world moves fast. Choose to be the one who leads from wisdom, not reaction. You don't need to be the first to respond. You just need to be the one who responds with truth. That truth comes when you observe everything deeply before choosing your next move. And when you do, you won't just act, you'll act with meaning. Chapter 4. Speak less often and listen with full presence. Most people speak to be heard, but rarely to understand. In a world full of noise, everyone wants to say something, yet few take the time to listen. If you want to grow, build better relationships, and gain clarity in life, you must reverse this trend. Speak less. Listen more. Not just with your ears, but with your full attention. Listening is not waiting for your turn to talk. It is the act of being fully present with another person, without the need to interrupt, judge, or fix. When you speak less, you allow space for deeper understanding. You stop assuming and start learning. You see beyond what is said and start feeling what is truly meant. This creates real connection. It fosters trust. It reveals truth. Every time you hold back your urge to dominate a conversation, you give yourself the chance to grow in patience and empathy. Listening trains your mind to become quiet, focused, and open. It humbles you. It teaches you that your perspective is not the only one, and it helps you access wisdom that is not your own. There's a powerful discipline in choosing silence over reaction. When you stop speaking just to be right, or to sound smart, or to defend your ego, you begin to access a calm and thoughtful version of yourself. This version doesn't need to prove anything. It learns by observing, not by arguing. It learns by receiving, not by resisting. That is the beginning of self-control. And self-control is the foundation of personal mastery. Full presence is rare. Most people are distracted. They check their phones while you speak. They nod without hearing. They pretend to care while preparing their next point. You must rise above that. Give people your undivided attention. Let them feel seen and heard, not just tolerated. Your presence is more powerful than your words. Often what people truly need is not your advice, but your attention. They want to be felt, not fixed. They want to be understood, not analyzed. The more you listen, the more you learn. You discover the roots of pain. You see the confusion behind the anger. You hear the longing in someone's silence. You notice what they're not saying. These things cannot be found through talking. They're only revealed through observation, patience and presence. When you stop talking so much, your awareness sharpens. You notice the emotional shifts in people. You recognize what brings them comfort or discomfort. This emotional intelligence makes you wise beyond words. Speaking less also gives your words more weight. When you are known for thoughtful silence, people listen when you do speak. They know you've thought deeply. They know you're not reacting but responding. They respect your input because it's rare, measured and sincere. People will value your voice when they know it's not used carelessly. The fewer words you use, the more powerful each one becomes. Discipline in speech leads to peace in life. Most conflict comes from careless words. Most regret comes from things said without thought. When you learn to slow your speech, you avoid creating unnecessary tension. You give yourself the space to respond with wisdom rather than emotion. You stop adding fuel to conflict. You begin to build bridges instead of walls. Every conversation is an opportunity to practice self-awareness. Ask yourself why you feel the need to speak. Is it to contribute something helpful, or is it to gain approval, control, or attention? Be honest with yourself. You don't have to share every opinion. You don't need to correct everyone. You don't have to respond to every insult or disagreement. Choosing silence is not weakness. It's a sign that you've mastered your need for validation. When you practice listening fully, you begin to hear more than words. You hear fears that are hidden. You hear the patterns behind someone's behavior. You hear their struggle to be understood. And because of that, you develop more compassion. You become less reactive. You understand people instead of resenting them. And that understanding gives you emotional freedom. Presence is not something you turn on and off. It is a way of being. When you are present, you are not judging. You are not trashing. You are not checking out. You are here with the moment, with the person, with the words and feelings unfolding. This builds connection that cannot be faked. People sense when you are truly there, and that sense brings comfort and trust. One of the greatest habits you can build is pausing before you speak. That pause gives you time to filter your intention. Are you speaking from love, or from pride, from clarity, or from confusion, from understanding, or from assumption? That moment of pause allows you to take responsibility for your energy. It allows you to offer something meaningful instead of impulsive. You do not need to win every conversation. You do not need to have the last word. You do not need to be the loudest voice in the room. Often the person with the deepest strength is the one who listens the most and speaks the least. They are not absent. They are aware. They are not passive. They are intentional. They understand that listening is an act of power, not weakness. Listening also helps you understand yourself. The more you slow down and absorb what's happening around you, the more you begin to notice your inner patterns. You start to recognize your triggers, your assumptions, your ego-based responses. That awareness is the beginning of change. You cannot grow without knowing yourself. And you cannot know yourself without silence. In every moment, you have a choice. You can speak to be heard, or you can remain silent to understand. You can interrupt, or you can absorb. You can react, or you can reflect. The difference between those choices is the difference between chaos and calm, confusion and clarity, noise and wisdom. You may think your words are your power, but your silence often says more. It speaks of patience, confidence and awareness. It shows that you are not desperate to be noticed. It reveals that you are secure enough to let others be heard. And in doing so, you earn the kind of respect that no loud voice can demand. You must train yourself to be quiet, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Let others talk over you. Let others rush to speak. You don't have to match their pace. You don't have to prove your value. Let your stillness speak for you. Let your silence reflect your strength. Speak when you're calm. Speak when your words can build, not break. Speak when your heart is open, not when your pride is wounded. Let your speech be rare, but meaningful. Let your presence be consistent and kind. And above all, remember that your silence is never empty. It holds power. It holds awareness. It holds the ability to understand what others miss. In this way you rise above the noise of the world. You no longer chase attention. You no longer need to fill every silence with sound. You become the calm center in a chaotic room. And from that center, everything in your life begins to flow more clearly, more peacefully, and more meaningfully. Chapter 5. Respond calmly to protect your energy every day. Not everything in life deserves your reaction. Some things are better left unanswered, not because you don't care, but because your peace is too valuable to trade for momentary tension. When you respond calmly, you are choosing power over chaos. You are no longer controlled by outside noise or provoked by every small disruption. You become the protector of your energy. Calmness is not a passive state. It's an active decision you make in the middle of pressure. It's built over time through discipline, awareness, and self-respect. There will be moments when people misunderstand you, speak over you, or try to get a reaction. The test is whether you let that disturb your inner balance. Emotional maturity is knowing that you don't need to meet every situation with the same intensity that it throws at you. You don't need to mirror other people's anger, frustration, or sarcasm. You can stand still while the world spins around you. That stillness becomes your strength. It's not about suppressing your feelings. It's about mastering the way you express them. The habit of staying calm under pressure is one of the most valuable things you can develop. When you're calm, you can see clearly. You avoid saying things you'll regret. You prevent small issues from growing into larger ones. You notice the situation instead of getting lost in it. Calmness creates space between what happens and how you respond. That space is where wisdom lives. It's where you choose how to protect your energy rather than waste it. Every time you rush to respond with irritation or defensiveness, you drain yourself. You hand over control to the person or situation that upset you. But when you respond with calm, you stay in charge of your mood. You're not avoiding the issue. You're rising above it. You're making decisions based on what serves your long-term peace, not your short-term emotions. This is how you begin to live with intention instead of reactivity. People often confuse being calm with being passive. But calmness is deliberate. It means you are measured, thoughtful, and strong enough not to be pulled into emotional chaos. It shows that you understand the value of your time, your attention, and your mental space. You don't allow others to toss their emotional baggage at your feet. You carry your own with quiet strength, and you refuse to pick up what isn't yours. The world will constantly test your ability to remain composed. You will be challenged by delays, disagreements, and disappointments. But how you handle those moments defines the direction of your life. If you let every irritation control you, your day is no longer your own. Your mood belongs to everything outside of you. But if you remain steady, even when things are not going your way, you gain an unshakable kind of confidence. You know you can handle whatever comes because your peace is not built on perfect conditions. It's built on your ability to respond with wisdom. Chapter 6. Slow down your thoughts and gain true clarity. Most people don't realize how fast their thoughts are moving until something forces them to stop. When the body is still but the mind races, you begin to feel the pressure that never lets up. You think about what happened, what might happen, what should have been said, what could go wrong. One thought leads to another, and before you know it, your mind is no longer a tool, it becomes a storm. And in the middle of that storm, clarity is impossible. What you truly need isn't more thinking. You need to slow your thoughts down enough to actually see them clearly. That's where real clarity begins, not in doing more, but in doing less with deeper awareness. There's a difference between having an active mind and being consumed by one. When your thoughts move too quickly, you start reacting instead of understanding. You start assuming instead of observing. You make decisions not based on what is real, but on the fear, doubt, or pressure created by mental noise. The speed of your thoughts can deceive you into believing that everything is urgent, that every worry is justified, and that you need to solve everything right now. But when you slow down, you begin to see that not everything deserves your mental attention. Some problems resolve on their own. Some answers come only after you stop searching. Slowing your thoughts is not the same as stopping them. It's about moving from mental chaos to mental order. It's about creating space between each idea so you can examine it, understand it, and decide what to do with it. You can't sort your thoughts while they're flying past you. You need stillness. That stillness can look like taking a deep breath before responding. It can be closing your eyes for a minute before speaking. It can be sitting quietly in the morning before the day begins. These simple pauses allow you to reconnect with what matters most, your ability to think with clarity and calm. In a world that encourages speed, slowing down your mind becomes an act of strength. It's not easy to resist the urge to rush, to fix, to solve, to act. But when you pause, you step outside the urgency and return to reality. You give yourself permission to think deeply instead of impulsively. You begin to understand that clarity doesn't come from more effort. It comes from space, patience, and intention. When your mind is racing, it's usually because it's trying to protect you. It thinks that if it stays alert, it can prevent pain or discomfort. But this hypervigilance only leads to exhaustion. You don't need to rehearse every worst-case scenario. You don't need to solve tomorrow's problems today. You don't need to carry the weight of what-ifs. When you slow down your thoughts, you begin to trust that clarity will come without pressure. You learn to let go of the need to control every outcome and instead focus on your presence. One of the most effective ways to slow your mind is to return to your senses. Feel the air on your skin. Notice the ground beneath your feet. Listen to the rhythm of your breath. The body lives in the present, and the mind learns to follow when you bring attention to now. You don't need to escape your thoughts. You need to anchor them, and nothing anchors the mind like awareness of the moment. When you practice this often, your mind becomes less reactive and more reflective. You also begin to notice the patterns in your thinking. You see which thoughts are based on fear, which ones are based on habit, and which ones actually lead to growth. You stop identifying with every passing idea. You learn to watch your thoughts without becoming them. This detachment allows you to filter what's useful and release what's not. You start to think with intention, not just momentum. Slowing your thoughts helps you make better decisions. When you're clear, you don't chase quick fixes. You see the bigger picture. You weigh the consequences. You act from wisdom instead of urgency. You don't just react to what's in front of you, you respond to what truly matters. Whether it's a conversation, a challenge, or a goal, clarity gives you the strength to move with purpose. It helps you say no without guilt, wait without anxiety, and act without regret. Mental clarity also brings emotional balance. When your mind is quiet, your emotions have room to settle. You're no longer overwhelmed by every feeling that passes through you. You begin to notice the difference between emotion and reaction. You don't need to suppress your feelings. You need to slow your thinking long enough to understand them. This awareness allows you to navigate life with more steadiness. You stop swinging between extremes and start living from your center. Creating this mental space is a daily practice. It doesn't require perfection, it requires consistency. Even a few moments of silence can make a difference. Maybe you choose not to check your phone first thing in the morning. Maybe you take 5 minutes to breathe before a meeting. Maybe you walk without music just to hear your own thoughts. These moments of stillness accumulate, and over time, they change the way your mind operates. They teach your brain that it's safe to slow down, that you don't need to be on high alert all the time, that clarity comes when you stop chasing it. You don't need more information, you need more inner quiet. The truth is already within you, but you can't hear it through the noise. When you create space between thoughts, the truth rises naturally. You start to see what matters and what doesn't. You let go of the opinions that don't serve you, the doubts that don't belong to you, and the fears that don't reflect reality. You return to your own rhythm, the one that isn't rushed by the world. When your mind is clear, your life begins to flow. You stop forcing outcomes and start allowing progress. You move from pressure to presence, from reaction to direction. You feel lighter, not because your problems disappear, but because your mind is no longer making them heavier. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to be clear enough to take the next step. That's all clarity really is, knowing what matters now and having the peace to move forward without confusion. Clarity doesn't come from thinking harder, it comes from thinking slower. You gain it by stepping back, by watching your thoughts like clouds passing in the sky, by remembering that not every idea needs your energy. When you learn to slow your thoughts, you start to live with wisdom instead of worry. You begin to act from your values instead of your fears. And you create a life that feels spacious, thoughtful, and deeply aligned with who you truly are. Chapter 7. Let go of overthinking and trust your process. Overthinking is not a sign of deep intelligence or preparation. It is a mental loop that steals your energy, clouds your judgment, and delays your growth. When the mind spins in circles, no amount of thinking moves you forward. You rehearse scenarios, analyze motives, question your past decisions, and try to predict outcomes that haven't even arrived. This mental cycle doesn't prepare you, it paralyzes you. Every time you think you're getting closer to clarity, you slip further into hesitation. What should be a simple step becomes a storm of internal dialogue. You second-guess your intuition, resist natural momentum, and forget that action is where transformation actually happens. Living in your head all the time means you miss life as it's unfolding. You try to anticipate every detail, but forget to experience the present. You create problems that don't exist yet, and neglect the simple truth in front of you. The longer you overthink, the more disconnected you become from your own confidence. You start depending on control instead of trust. You believe that if you just think a little more, you'll finally feel certain. But certainty doesn't come from thought alone. It comes from taking a step, watching what happens, learning and adjusting. That's the process. You don't gain wisdom by sitting still. You grow by engaging, observing, and moving forward even when everything isn't perfectly planned. Trusting the process means releasing the illusion that you can foresee every outcome. It means accepting that progress is not always linear. You won't always know if you're on the right path until you take the next few steps. Some lessons come only through doing, not thinking. The longer you wait for the perfect plan, the more life passes by without your participation. You don't need every answer to begin. You need enough faith in yourself to move forward, even with a little uncertainty. That's how you build resilience, not by eliminating doubt, but by acting alongside it. There is peace in trusting your path, even when you don't have every detail figured out. It doesn't mean you ignore logic or preparation. It means you stop exhausting yourself with mental loops that offer no new insight. You recognize when thinking turns into avoidance. You see when planning becomes procrastination. And you remind yourself that you've already come through challenges you once doubted you could handle. The process has always been there, quietly working in your favor. You've just forgotten to trust it. When you let go of overthinking, you create space for natural intelligence to rise. Your inner wisdom speaks clearly when the noise of constant doubt is quieted. You notice that many of your greatest decisions came not from hours of analysis, but from moments of clarity where you simply knew what to do. That knowing still lives inside you. It just gets drowned out when you demand guarantees. Life doesn't promise certainty, it offers opportunity. And when you meet opportunity with trust instead of tension, you begin to experience the flow that comes from alignment. Letting go also requires self-respect. Overthinking often stems from fear of failure, rejection, or judgment. But when you trust your process, you stop needing external validation. You begin to value your own journey without comparing it to others. You understand that growth looks different for everyone, and your pace is enough. You don't need to prove your worth by being perfect. You don't need to earn rest by solving every potential problem first. You are allowed to move forward with imperfect confidence. That's not recklessness, it's maturity. When you catch yourself spiraling into the same thought loops, pause. Ask yourself, is this thinking bringing me closer to action, or is it keeping me stuck? Are these thoughts rooted in clarity, or are they born from fear? Often, you'll find that what you call thinking is actually worrying in disguise. It's your mind trying to protect you by imagining every possible failure. But protection doesn't always equal wisdom. Sometimes the safest thing you can do is trust your step forward. Because staying in place, doubting everything, and waiting for the perfect moment, that's a quiet kind of suffering. And you deserve better than that. Small actions taken consistently are more powerful than perfect plans never acted on. One step taken today will teach you more than 100 imagined outcomes. You don't need to have it all together, you just need to keep moving. When you trust the process, you learn to welcome mistakes as part of the path, not signs of failure. You begin to see challenges as feedback, not as punishment. You stop asking, what if it all goes wrong? And start asking, what might go right if I try? That shift in perspective doesn't eliminate difficulty, but it does restore your power. Each time you choose trust over overthinking, you strengthen a muscle inside yourself. The more you use it, the easier it becomes to recognize when thinking turns into resistance. You begin to feel the difference between thoughtful reflection and mental sabotage. And you develop the discipline to stop feeding the thoughts that keep you stuck. You become more present, more grounded, and more connected to what really matters, not every possible outcome, but the one you're creating now. Letting go is not the same as giving up. It's giving space. It's making room for clarity to emerge naturally. When you release the grip on needing everything to go your way, you open yourself to experiences you never imagined. You learn to adapt. You discover parts of yourself that only show up when you stop controlling the narrative. You find creativity, courage, and ease waiting for you beyond the noise of your own doubt. And in that space, you finally breathe again. You are not here to figure everything out before living. You are here to participate fully, to trust that the road ahead will reveal itself one step at a time. Your process doesn't need to be flawless, it needs to be honest. It needs your attention, your effort, and your belief. And when you give those things freely, you unlock a deeper level of progress than overthinking ever could. Release the need to predict. Let go of the pressure to perfect. Trust that you can handle whatever comes next. Not because you've thought it through 100 times, but because you've chosen to believe in your own ability to learn, to adapt, and to rise. Your peace lives in this trust. Your strength is found in this release. And your future unfolds with every step you take, not from a mind overwhelmed, but from a heart committed. Chapter 8. Practice self-discipline and build quiet inner strength. Real strength isn't loud. It doesn't beg for attention or parade itself in front of others. It doesn't rush to prove anything. True strength is formed in silence, through steady effort, and the choices you make when no one else is watching. And at the heart of that quiet power is discipline, the decision to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. It's not about being harsh with yourself. It's about honoring your growth enough to stay consistent, focused, and in control of your actions. Because without self-discipline, potential stays locked inside. But with it, you become unstoppable, not through force, but through calm and unwavering direction. Discipline begins when you stop waiting for motivation and start acting based on commitment. Motivation is fleeting. Some days you feel inspired, and some days you don't. If you only move when you feel like it, your progress will always be inconsistent. But when you decide that your actions are bigger than your mood, you begin to train your mind to follow purpose over impulse. You become the kind of person who doesn't need a perfect environment to show up. You build momentum by showing up consistently, regardless of how convenient it is. That's where inner power begins, not in the occasional burst of effort, but in the repeated choice to stay on your path. Self-discipline is not restriction. It's not about punishing yourself or living without joy. It's the opposite. It's an act of care. When you choose discipline, you choose to protect your future. You prioritize long-term peace over short-term comfort. You say no to what weakens you, not because you're afraid, but because you know what you're building deserves better. You stop letting distractions dictate your days. You stop negotiating with excuses. You remove the noise that pulls you away from what matters. That clarity is rare, and the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. There's dignity in waking up and following through on what you said you'd do. There's quiet confidence that builds each time you keep a promise to yourself. You don't need praise. You don't need applause. The reward is in knowing that your life is moving in the direction you've chosen, not the direction your feelings or external circumstances try to push you. You become grounded. Your emotions no longer control your decisions. Instead, you acknowledge them and act in spite of them when necessary. That's maturity. That's strength. The world often rewards speed and spectacle, but the real rewards come to those who are steady. When you practice self-discipline, you stop chasing validation. You no longer need the world to recognize your effort to keep going. You understand that the true win is becoming someone you respect. Someone who doesn't abandon themselves when things get difficult. Someone who knows how to delay gratification in exchange for meaningful progress. You develop habits that serve your future. You make decisions not just for today, but for who you're becoming. And in that daily commitment, you grow. Quiet strength is built in the moments you choose not to react. When you feel frustration rising, and you pause instead of exploding. When you feel doubt creeping in, and you continue anyway. When temptation appears, and you remind yourself why you started. These moments don't look dramatic on the outside, but they're powerful beyond measure. They reshape your character, they sharpen your focus, and they prepare you for a life of freedom. Not freedom from responsibility, but freedom from chaos, from regret, from the weight of inconsistency. It's easy to want results. It's harder to stay patient while building the foundation for them. But lasting change is never sudden. It's the outcome of daily actions that seem small but compound over time. You drink water instead of reaching for sugar. You write a paragraph instead of waiting for inspiration to strike. You move your body when you'd rather stay in bed. These aren't massive achievements on their own, but they form the structure that keeps you moving forward when life becomes uncertain. And when setbacks come, as they always do, it's discipline that gets you back on track. There will be days when you want to quit. Days when you question whether your effort is even worth it. On those days, remind yourself that the act of continuing is already a win. Strength doesn't mean never feeling weak. It means deciding that the weakness won't define your next move. You stop looking for the easy way. You embrace the fact that building something real takes time, patience, and 1,000 small decisions that no one sees. And in making those decisions, you evolve. You become someone others can rely on. More importantly, you become someone you can rely on. When you hold yourself accountable, not through shame but through self-respect, you unlock a deeper level of peace. You no longer waste energy on guilt or regret, because your actions reflect your values. You sleep better, you feel lighter. Not because everything is easy, but because you are aligned. And that alignment between who you are and how you act is what gives your life substance. You don't need external success to feel whole. You feel whole because you're living in integrity. You're honoring your word. You're staying true to what you said matters to you. Don't underestimate how rare that is. In a world full of distractions and noise, the ability to remain focused, steady, and self-directed is a superpower. People may not notice your discipline right away. They may not understand your boundaries or your priorities. That doesn't matter. You're not doing this for recognition. You're doing it because it leads to a life that reflects your true values. You don't crave applause when you know you're becoming someone powerful within. The silence of that strength is enough. Self-discipline creates a life where you no longer need to be pushed, reminded, or rescued. You become the source of your own motivation. You learn how to pull yourself up, recalibrate, and keep going. That resilience doesn't come from outside. It comes from the inner muscle you've been building through every small act of discipline. You begin to trust yourself deeply, and that trust allows you to face the unknown with calm, knowing that you'll continue showing up, no matter what. So keep going. Stay steady. Refuse to compromise with the habits that weaken you. You already know what needs to be done. Choose it again today. Not for perfection, not for anyone's praise, but because you believe in the person you're becoming. That belief, backed by discipline, will carry you further than talent, luck, or external validation ever could. Chapter 9. Choose stillness when the world demands your attention. In a world that never stops, stillness may feel like a rare gift, or even an impossible luxury. There is always something demanding your attention: notifications, conversations, responsibilities, deadlines, and the constant hum of noise from every direction. It can be overwhelming. The pressure to respond quickly, to be available at all times, to move faster and do more feels relentless. Yet in the midst of all this chaos, stillness is not just a pause, it is a powerful choice that offers clarity, strength, and control. Choosing stillness when the world demands your attention is a way to reclaim your peace and center your mind. Stillness is not about running away or avoiding reality. It is about stepping into a space of calm awareness in the middle of the storm. When you choose stillness, you refuse to be swept away by the endless rush of distractions and reactive impulses. Instead, you create a gap between stimulus and response, a space where you regain perspective and make thoughtful decisions. That pause is transformative. It allows you to see clearly what deserves your energy and what does not. Without stillness, your life becomes a series of fragmented reactions. With stillness, you become the deliberate author of your own story. Practicing stillness starts with recognizing the value of silence in your day. When the noise feels unbearable, intentionally stepping back to breathe deeply and slow your racing thoughts resets your mind. In that moment, you create a refuge within yourself. This practice doesn't need to take long. Even a few quiet seconds of focused breathing can anchor you back to the present moment. Over time, these small moments accumulate and build a habit of calm presence. When stillness becomes familiar, you can access it whenever life demands more than you can give in haste. One of the most significant benefits of choosing stillness is that it sharpens your attention. When you're constantly distracted, your mind scatters in many directions. This scattering weakens your ability to focus and dilutes your effectiveness. Stillness narrows your attention like a lens, directing it where it is most needed. You can assess situations with a clear mind, without emotional clutter clouding your judgment. This clarity enhances decision-making and improves your interactions with others because you respond from a place of awareness rather than impulse. Choosing stillness also protects your energy. When the world pulls you in every direction, it's easy to feel drained, stressed, and overwhelmed. Reacting to every demand often leads to burnout and resentment. Stillness is a form of self-care that helps you conserve your mental and emotional resources. It is a boundary that keeps you from being hijacked by unnecessary chaos. By cultivating stillness, you safeguard your capacity to respond effectively when it truly matters. This inner reserve of calm becomes a source of resilience and endurance. Stillness invites you to observe your thoughts without attachment or judgment. Instead of being caught in the endless loop of worries, to-do lists, or fears, you become a witness to what arises in your mind. This witnessing creates distance between you and your thoughts, reducing their power over your emotions and actions. It is a practice of detachment that frees you from being controlled by every fleeting feeling or impulse. In this space, you find a stable ground from which to act intentionally. Applying stillness in daily life requires consistent practice and patience. It starts with simple habits such as pausing before reacting to emails or messages. Instead of rushing to reply or react, Give yourself a moment to breathe and choose your response. Notice how this small shift reduces stress and improves your communication. Another practice is creating quiet pockets during your day, a few minutes without screens, noise or interruptions. These moments allow your mind to rest and reset, improving your overall mental clarity. In situations of conflict or high pressure, stillness is especially valuable. When emotions run high, it is tempting to respond quickly and aggressively. Yet these reactions often escalate problems instead of solving them. Choosing stillness gives you the chance to step back, regulate your emotions, and respond thoughtfully. This approach not only protects your energy, but also leads to better outcomes and healthier relationships. Calm responses create space for understanding and resolution, while reactive responses often cause damage. Stillness is not a sign of weakness or passivity. It is an active choice to be present and grounded amidst the noise. It requires courage to resist the pressure to always be doing or reacting. Yet this courage brings freedom. When you are still, you regain control over your attention, emotions, and decisions. You no longer surrender your power to external demands. Instead, you decide what is worthy of your focus and energy. Another powerful aspect of stillness is that it deepens your connection with yourself. In silence, you hear your own thoughts, desires, and truths more clearly. This self-awareness is essential for growth and authenticity. Without it, you risk living on autopilot, driven by habits, expectations, or external opinions. Stillness gives you the chance to pause, reflect, and align with your values and goals. It strengthens your ability to live intentionally and with purpose. Incorporating stillness into your daily routine transforms how you engage with the world. It changes your relationship with time from frantic rushing to mindful presence. You begin to notice the richness in simple moments, a conversation, a breath, a task done with care. This shift fosters gratitude and peace, reducing anxiety about the future or regrets about the past. Stillness teaches that life is not about constant activity, but about quality and presence. Choosing stillness also enhances creativity and problem-solving. When your mind is cluttered, creative ideas struggle to surface. Stillness clears the mental noise and allows space for inspiration to emerge naturally. Many breakthroughs happen in moments of calm reflection, not frantic effort. By cultivating stillness, you invite insight and innovation into your life. It's important to recognize that stillness can feel uncomfortable at first. In a culture that values busyness, slowing down can trigger restlessness or anxiety. This discomfort is normal and a sign that your mind is used to constant stimulation. Patience is key. With regular practice, stillness becomes easier and more rewarding. Over time, you begin to crave these peaceful moments as nourishment for your soul. Stillness is a lifelong skill that grows with you. The more you choose it, the more it supports you in handling life's challenges. It becomes a sanctuary you carry within yourself, accessible anytime and anywhere. This inner sanctuary protects your well-being and fuels your personal growth. When the world demands your attention, stillness is your response that says you are in control. It is a commitment to your peace, clarity, and power. It teaches that amidst noise and distraction, you can remain grounded and focused. This choice shapes a life where everything flows naturally because you no longer fight against the current, but move with intention and calm. Choosing stillness is an act of strength that opens doors to wisdom and peace. It allows you to live from a place of centeredness and clarity rather than reaction and chaos. Each time you practice stillness, you build resilience, sharpen your mind, and protect your energy. These gifts transform your daily experience and create a foundation for lasting fulfillment. The world will always demand your attention, but you get to decide how you respond. Stillness is not just a pause, it is a powerful presence that transforms overwhelm into calm and distraction into focus. By choosing stillness, you claim your inner control and invite a flow of peace that carries you through every moment with strength and grace. Chapter 10. Live with intention and attract peace through action. Living with intention is a commitment that changes everything. It is the conscious choice to bring awareness and purpose to every action you take, no matter how small. When you live with intention, your life no longer feels like a series of random events or reactions. Instead, each moment is shaped by a clear sense of direction and meaning. This focus allows peace to enter naturally, because you are no longer drifting aimlessly or overwhelmed by distractions. Peace follows purpose, and purpose arises from deliberate, mindful action. Intentional living starts with clarity about what truly matters. Without knowing your values, priorities, and goals, it is impossible to direct your energy effectively. Taking time to reflect on what gives your life meaning anchors you in what is real and important. This reflection cuts through the noise of fleeting desires and societal pressures, revealing what aligns with your authentic self. When your actions reflect these truths, you experience a deep satisfaction that no external circumstance can shake. Once clarity is established, living intentionally means aligning your daily habits and decisions with that clarity. It requires asking yourself fundamental questions before acting. Does this move support my long-term well-being? Does this choice reflect who I want to become? Am I investing my time and energy in what matters most? These questions act as a compass, guiding your steps even in complex or stressful situations. They create a rhythm that steadies your mind and calms your heart. Acting with intention brings a new level of focus and energy to everything you do. Instead of being pulled in many directions, you channel your efforts toward meaningful outcomes. This focus reduces wasted time and mental clutter, making your path forward clearer. It also helps you resist distractions and unproductive habits that drain your vitality. With intention, every action becomes a deliberate contribution to the life you desire. Peace is not a distant goal but a natural byproduct of intentional living. When your actions reflect your values and priorities, internal conflict fades. You are no longer torn between what you want and what you do. This harmony between inner beliefs and outer behavior creates calm and confidence. You move through challenges with steadiness because your foundation is strong and unshakable. Living intentionally requires courage because it often means saying no to what is easy or popular in favor of what is right for you. It demands discipline to maintain focus amid distractions and temptations. Yet, this courage and discipline build an inner strength that becomes a wellspring of peace. The ability to choose your path regardless of external chaos is a freedom few fully experience. Intentional action also involves being fully present. It is not about rushing through tasks or living on autopilot, but engaging deeply with each moment. Whether you are working, resting, or connecting with others, presence brings richness and depth. This presence helps you notice opportunities, respond wisely, and appreciate life's subtle beauty. Peace grows in these moments of full awareness. A powerful way to cultivate intentional living is through small, consistent practices. Morning routines that set a purposeful tone for the day, mindful pauses before decisions, or nightly reflections on what served your goals are all effective. These habits create structure and support, making it easier to stay aligned with your intentions over time. They transform intention from a vague idea into a lived reality. Intentional living is not about perfection or rigid control, but about mindful direction. It allows flexibility while keeping you anchored in your core values. When unexpected challenges arise, your intentions serve as a steady guide, helping you adapt without losing your way. This adaptability, combined with purpose, brings resilience and peace in equal measure. Every intentional step you take attracts peace because it reduces inner conflict and external chaos. You become a magnet for calm and clarity, not because the world changes, but because you change how you engage with it. Your actions ripple out, influencing your environment and relationships positively. Peace is contagious when it comes from a place of genuine intention. Living with intention encourages a balanced life where ambition and rest coexist. You pursue goals with passion, but also honor the need for renewal. This balance prevents burnout and sustains long-term well-being. Intentional living is a dance between action and stillness, effort and ease, doing and being. Peace thrives in this balance. At its core, living with intention is an act of self-respect. It acknowledges that your time and energy are precious and deserve careful stewardship. It rejects the notion of living on autopilot or letting external forces dictate your life. Instead, it embraces the power of conscious choice. This respect for yourself radiates outward, improving your interactions and relationships. When peace is your aim, intention is the path. By bringing clarity, focus, courage, and presence to your actions, you create a life that flows with ease. Challenges become opportunities to reaffirm your values rather than sources of stress. Distractions lose their grip because you hold a clear vision. This clarity invites peace to settle deeply within you. Ultimately, living with intention is a daily commitment that transforms ordinary moments into meaningful experiences. It turns the mundane into the sacred by infusing every action with purpose. This transformation leads to a life where peace is not something you chase, but something you embody. You become a calm force in a turbulent world, attracting harmony through your presence and choices. Intentional living is accessible to everyone, regardless of circumstance. It begins with small steps, choosing one action today that aligns with your values, pausing before reacting, or dedicating time to reflect on your purpose. These steps build momentum, creating a positive cycle of clarity and peace. Over time, this practice reshapes your life in profound ways. The power to live intentionally lies within you. It is not dependent on external conditions, but on your willingness to choose awareness over distraction, purpose over impulse, and peace over chaos. By embracing this power, you unlock a life rich in meaning and calm. This life is not found by chance but crafted with intention, step by deliberate step. In choosing to live with intention, you also invite a deeper connection to the present moment and to yourself. This connection nurtures self-trust and confidence, essential foundations for lasting peace. As you build this foundation, you discover that peace is not an elusive goal, but the natural state that arises when your actions align with your deepest truths. Peace through action is not passive. It requires effort, consistency, and a willingness to face discomfort. Yet the reward is a life lived fully, with clarity and calm as your companions. This balance between doing and being creates a rhythm that sustains you through all seasons of life. Living with intention and attracting peace is an ongoing journey, not a final destination. It calls for patience and compassion toward yourself. Mistakes and setbacks are part of growth, offering lessons that deepen your understanding. Each moment is an opportunity to recommit and realign, bringing you closer to the life you envision. In this commitment to intention, peace becomes a choice available to you every day. It becomes a quiet strength that supports you in the busiest moments and the stillest ones. It is the gentle assurance that no matter what happens outside, you hold the power to cultivate calm within. This assurance transforms your experience and creates a foundation for enduring happiness. Living with intention invites you to be the architect of your life, shaping it with mindful decisions and purposeful actions. It is a practice that honors your values, nurtures your spirit, and attracts peace as its natural consequence. This way of living empowers you to face life's complexities with grace and confidence, knowing that peace is always within reach when you choose to live deliberately.